Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session we will be discussing from 24th verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This will be part 2. In the previous session we had a discussion on the first part. This is the second part of this purport we will discuss. The verse Sarva Sadguna Mahatmye Esha Krishnam Anuvrataha Rantideva Ivodaro Yayatir Iva Dharmikaha. The meaning of this verse is, this child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantideva. And in religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. 3 comparisons. The first comparison to Lord Krishna we discussed in the previous session. This present session will discuss about the second comparison. In magnanimity, he will be as great as King Rantideva. So something about Rantideva, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. An ancient king prior to the Mahabharata period referred to by Narada Muni while instructing Sanjaya as mentioned in Mahabharata, Drona Parva, 67th chapter. Rantideva was a great king, liberal for hospitality and distribution of foodstuff. This is reference to an ancient king. All the kings mentioned in the Bhagavatam and the scriptures generally, they are great personalities. They are great personalities who are generally devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Rajarshi, they are Raja, they are kings, but they are Rishi, they are saintly in their character. Saintly kings, Rajarshi. So Rantideva was a saintly king. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised his acts of charity and hospitality. This is the greatness of Rantideva. He was blessed by the great Vasishta Muni for supplying him cold water, and thus he achieved the heavenly planet. To be elevated to heavenly planet just by being a king but acting properly, by giving charity. Dhanam is one of the qualities of a Kshatriya, ideal qualities of a Kshatriya. And hospitality, to receive the guests who come uninvited, unannounced, to receive them respectfully, properly, according to religious principles, to honor them, that is hospitality. So Rantideva was famous for this. Although a Kshatriya by birth, he never ate flesh in his entire life. The scriptures say Kshatriyas, under exceptional circumstances, they may eat a flesh of an animal. But Rantideva was a saintly king who never touched flesh of animal. Never. Whole life he never did that. He is one of those pious kings whose names are remembered in the morning and evening. Shastras prescribe to remember great personalities in order to sanctify our existence. So about Rantideva, in the another part of the Bhagavatam, it's explained. He never endeavored to earn anything, but he would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yadricha lava santushto. This is a characteristic of a yogi. Yogi means a devotee. So Krishna says a devotee never endeavors for acquiring many things for his material subsistence, but he is satisfied with whatever is coming to him by arrangement of providence. Providence means higher arrangement. But still there was an exception to this behavior Rantideva. What is that? When guests came, he would give them everything he had. Thus, he underwent considerable suffering along with his members of his family on one occasion. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water, yet Rantideva always remained sober. So one instance is cited in the Bhagavatam, in a later canto, about Rantideva. Once after fasting for 48 days, in the morning, Rantideva received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, a Brahmana guest arrived. Here the word used in Sanskrit for guest is atithi. Atithi means one who comes without invitation, without prior arrangement, without any intimation to the host. Suddenly arrives. So just Rantideva is about to break his fast after 48-day fasting, and the Brahmana guest has arrived. Because Rantideva perceived the presence of the Supreme Godhead everywhere and in every living entity, he received the guest with faith and respect and gave him a share of the food. The Brahmana guest ate his share and then went away. So the Brahmana guest was received properly, even though Rantideva was about to break the fast. He fasted 48 days. He remained sober. He never became disturbed, agitated. Properly received the guest, fed him, and the Brahmana guest ate his share and went away. Next, what happened? Thereafter, having divided the remaining food with his relatives, Rantideva was just about to eat his own share when a Shudra guest arrived. So after feeding the Brahmana, whatever was left, he gave to all the relatives who were also fasting, his family members. And then his share, he was about to eat when a Shudra guest arrived. Seeing the Shudra in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Rantideva gave him also a share of the food. See the magnanimity of Rantideva. How is he seeing? He is seeing everyone as spirit soul. This is the equality. Not artificial equality that in terms of body trying to equalize everyone. No. Body cannot be equalized. But within the body, the resident of the body, Dehi, not Deha, not the body. Dehi, the occupant of the body, the resident of the body, the spirit soul within the body. That spirit soul is equal as part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, there is always a relationship between every living being and Krishna. So Rantideva was enlightened spiritually. So he could see the relationship of every living being with Krishna. And therefore, he also gave this Shudra guest a share of the food. When the Shudra went away, Another guest arrived surrounded by dogs and said, "O king, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat." Now, with great respect, Rantideva offered the balance of the food to the dogs, and the master of the dogs who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. Now, offering obeisances to the master of the dogs is okay. What about offering obeisance to the dogs? This is again seeing the spirit soul within the dog's body or the Shudra's body or the master of the dog's body in relationship with Krishna. It is not to be imitated artificially by somebody who doesn't have a spiritual understanding. So, people sometimes think that we can have the dog in our house by giving it special protection. No. The dog can be given some food, but it has to wait outside your door. And maybe it will do some service as guarding your house. That's okay. But not that you fondle the dog, make it sleep next to you in your own bed, and allow it to roam everywhere in your house and make your whole house unclean. A dog is the most unclean animal. So one should never allow a dog inside one's house to maintain cleanliness. But that doesn't mean one has to be cruel to the dog or negligent of the dog. No. A dog which requires some food, you may give it food, but it has to wait outside your door. So, Rantideva offered respect to the dog, recognizing the living being inside a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Not the dog's body or not the dog's consciousness. No, not that. See, this is the difference between Rantideva treating equally all living beings and foolish people who want to imitate equality of all living beings by being particularly attached to a dog or a cat. Even though they seem to be very compassionate to some dog or cat, but they don't offer the same hospitality or treatment to another fellow human being who may be in need of some help. They don't do that. Thereafter, so he offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs, and then only the drinking water remained, his share, Rantideva's share, after fasting 48 days. And there was only enough to satisfy one person. When the king was just about to drink that water, a Chandala appeared and said, "O king, although I am low born, kindly give me some drinking water because I am very thirsty." See how Rantideva is being tested. And then, aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor fatigued Chandala, Maharaj Rantideva spoke the following nectarian words. What did he say? "I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from repeated birth and death. I want to only stay among all the living beings and suffer all distress on their behalf so that they may be freed from suffering." See how very magnanimous. That is the comparison. Rantideva iva udara is as magnanimous. He'll be as magnanimous, this Parikshit, as Rantideva. Rantideva had that feeling that I don't want to see anybody else suffer. And I want to remain among them and actually suffer distresses on their behalf so that they may be freed from suffering. This is very, very, very magnanimous quality. Having spoken thus, Rantideva, although on the verge of death because of thirst, gave his own portion of water to the Chandala without hesitation. For the king was naturally very kind and sober. And then what happened? The demigods, like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they had disguised themselves and appeared as the Brahmana, the Shudra, the master of the dogs, and the Chandala. They disclosed their identity and they said, "We are very pleased with your generosity, with your magnanimity. Kindly ask us any benediction." Rantideva had no ambition to enjoy any material benefits. So he simply prayed that I may always be fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in devotion to the Supreme Lord. So this is the magnanimity of Rantideva, and the child Parikshit is foretold to be as magnanimous as Rantideva. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.